Hi, we're Treetop Flyers, and this is our Blues Kitchen session.
Treetop Flyers make soulful country rock and roll. Still firmly rooted in blissed out Americana and roots, yet re-established with a new groove in their step, the band released their new album in August of 2018. Sam and Reid discuss the making of the record at the Cube, perhaps the smallest studio room in London, and the guys perform a version of Jim Ford's The Sound of Our Time. And while you're watching, subscribe to the channel for regular episodes of the Blues Kitchen Presents. Treetop Flyers.
How you doing?
Welcome to the Blues Kitchen.
Thanks for having us.
You alright?
Yeah, good.
In a short while, you're going to be doing a Jim Ford cover for us, as is customary on the show. But first, let's talk about your new album that's coming out at the end of next month, I believe, on Loose.
Yeah.
You've just come from Stoke Newington, just up the road, where you recorded it in the Cube, right? Which is a studio that's like basically a box, like 3 meters square or something.
It's pretty small, yeah.
Sounds intense.
So basically, our friends own a framing company, so they built a space on the back of their workshop.
Okay.
So we rehearsed in there first, and then whilst making a record, we thought we'd just try and do it ourselves. So we got some equipment and sort of just did it in this little cube, basically. But it sounds great, so it's all kind
no
of
escape?
No
windows?
No windows, no air.
Is there, I mean, obviously to say, but is there a claustrophobic atmosphere on the record?
I think it just sounds, for the first time, it sounds quite close, but quite big. And I think because you have to play to the level of the room, you can do a lot more with the mixing.
Yeah.
As you play loud, you play loud and you can't really make it quieter.
Yeah.
So I think we learned that the hard way through the years. And doing it ourselves, we thought, rather than telling someone what to do, what we want to sound like, we sort of know ourselves, so just give it a go. And to be fair, it's kind of turned out pretty good, we think.
Brilliant. Oh, that's cool. I was reading, I think it was something that your publicist had told us about the saxophone as well. And there was a line in there that said, just the right amount of well-judged saxophone. So what is the right amount of saxophone and how do you judge it?
I think it's enjoying ourselves, grabbing all the things. We're making the jokes about the saxophone player and the Lost Boys and, Baker Street and all of that. And having a great time and using all the things we like.
And is it a bit of departure sound-wise? Because when I think of Treetop Flyers, I do think of a very much West Coast sound. I think of the Byrds and Crosby, Stills and Nash, which I know you've been compared to a lot. That might be a bit of an annoyance, I don't know.
No, I think that's definitely still in there. I don't think you can get away from that, just how we sound singing or play guitar. It's kind of going to be compared to. But I think, especially with the saxophone, I've always loved that sort of sound anyway. So we've got the guy Jeff who plays with Danny. So we saw him playing.
That's Danny in the Champions as well.
Yeah. So I saw him playing, and I was like, we should probably get him down. And he came down literally. You sort of know straight away if it's going to work or not, or if he's any good. And he was just really good, and it's definitely added a lot to our live sessions as well, and live gigs, and just another person. So we're a 6-piece now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of.
So he's become a member.
Yeah.
And there has been a bit of personnel change with the lineup this time round, right?
Yeah. So we, our old drummer left. So we got a friend in to play drums now. Who's really good. It just sort of feels like a lot more solid now after years of trying to get it right, I guess.
I mean, is that where you've got to? Because it's your third album, isn't it? Do you feel like you've nailed it this time? And you've done it yourselves as well? Like
this is the one I feel like where, for better or worse, it is who we are, and we're enjoying. We had a lot of fun making this record, and we're having a lot of fun starting to play it. Everyone always, when you did a live gig, they'd be, your records never sound like, your live show. I don't feel there's that discrepancy now.
Oh, how satisfying.
Yeah.
That must be wonderful.
It's really good,
It's like what every musician's quest is to do, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it can go anywhere from here, Who knows what's next? But it's a lot of fun to do it, and that comes across.
Brilliant. Well, I can't wait to hear it in full. Let's talk a bit about the cover you're going to do as well. You're going to do a Jim Ford tune.
Yeah.
So maybe you could set the scene with a bit of your knowledge of Jim Ford before, or am I putting you on the spot?
No,
there?
go for it.
Because he brought out a compilation, didn't he, about 6 or 7 years ago of a load of lost songs, and I believe the tune that you're going to do is plucked from that compilation of tunes that were recorded in the late 60s but never got released.
Yeah, so basically he's one of them sort of unsung heroes. I heard him about 8 years ago. Someone gave me a mixtape of him on. I was like, who's this guy? Because I'm a massive fan of Van Morrison, and he just basically sounds exactly like him, proper country soul, kind of just, So more I delved into it, he wrote songs for Bobby Womack. Sly Stone says he's the baddest white man on earth. That's his quote, which is a pretty good quote.
I'll take that.
And he had an album called Harlan Country, which Light in the Attic really released. And I think
Such a good label.
That's amazing. And then like there's a thing called Country Funk compilation. That song was on there. And I think people just got to know him a little bit. But he's, I think, same thing. Drinking drugs went down the wrong way. But he's had some amazing songs. If you go back through great songs, he's kind of wrote some of them as well. So it's kind of I've always liked him. For this session, we thought let's try and do something different, and we sort of picked one of his songs really.
That country funk sound seems to be bubbling up to the top, doesn't it? Those two compilations.
Brilliant.
But the first one in particular.
That's my favourite one.
Yeah,
There's
brilliant.
more than two now, isn't
But
it?
then like they did other ones like Delta Swamp ones. It's
Yeah.
this similar kind of.
Are we talking about Little Feat and Allman Brothers
All
and
that kind
Dr.
of stuff.
John?
Yeah,
and
yeah. It's all in there.
Dream
But he's
stuff.
just really, I think one of the unsung heroes, and I wish everyone knew about him.
Well, you're doing your bit now.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
So what about this particular song that you're going to do? When did you first hear it, and maybe even how did it make you feel?
Well, to be honest with you, it was one I didn't really listen to as much as other ones.
It was the title, The Sound of Our Time.
Yeah, but when we were trying to get a song for this, Laurie was like, why don't we do this? And I think it kind of, the message of it, the world's not great for him then, and it's clearly not great now. So it kind of almost like makes more sense now than it probably did then in different ways. But it's just a really nice song, and the words kind of speak volumes really. So we thought, give it a go, do our bit.
We'll ruin that one.
Well, maybe you could be good enough to introduce your tune, if that's cool.
We're Treetop Flyers. This is our version of Jim Ford's Sound of Our Time.
1, 2, 3. If you listen, you can hear a little child's cry. It sounds to me like the pain of hunger. Listen, you can hear all them big guns fire. It sounds to me like my brother's dying. Listen, you can hear the screams down in the street. I bet the heat has come and got there. The sound of our times rings loud in my mind, and I'll never get used to the sound. No, I'll never get used to the sound. Listen, you can hear the sound of the wind choking on our pollution. Listen to the sound of the rain falling down. But it ain't gonna drown our revolution. Listen to the sound on the ground. You'll hear the man-made bombs of self-destruction. The sound of our times rings loud in my mind, and I'll never get used to the sound. No, I'll never get used to the sound. Hate, fear, disease of the mind, often found in our society. War and kill, we foot the bill. What if nobody will pay their taxes?
sounds of our time rings loud in my mind, and I'll never get used to the sound. No, I'll never get used to the sound. Oh, I'll never get used to the sound.
Subscribe to The Blues Kitchen for live performances and interviews with the hottest blues, soul, country and roots musicians in the world today.